welcome back to Emotional Mojo. You know, this week, actually today, marks the 1-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombings that killed 3 people, hurt 264 others. And with this year's race less than a week away, survivors have found a very creative way to face their fears. They returned to the finish line with uplifting messages painted on their skin for everybody to see. Check this out. Photographer Robert Fogarty came up with the idea last summer after meeting with a runner named Dave Fortier. At the time, he noticed he had written healing across the side of his head. So admiring that statement, he decided to reach out to other survivors and see if they would be willing to share their own messages right there on their skin for all to see at the finish line. For each portrait, he asked the survivor to choose something they would like to say to the world. One woman, Celeste Conquerin, said that for her, taking the pictures was about taking back control and reclaiming the finish line. Pretty amazing.
Joining us now is Jon Hughes, and Jon was actually there on that fateful day last year in Boston, and Jon had already finished the race. He was back at his hotel when he felt and heard the explosions, and he's actually a race director himself, so he immediately leapt into action to try to make his way back to the finish line. And although that tragic day remains in Jon's heart and head, he is not letting those fears get the better of him. And Jon is actually running the Boston Marathon again this year. So welcome, Jon.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks for joining us. So you told me that you felt these explosions and you literally ran down 32 flights of stairs after just finishing a marathon, people.
Wow.
To try to see what you could do.
Well, yes. Betsy, my wife, we had gotten back up to the hotel, heard the first blast, then saw the smoke, and then the second. And for those of people that know me, this is so personal to me on so many levels, and also on a professional level because it's my life.
This is what you do.
It's what we do. I know
It's
Dave
like your worst nightmare.
Yes, the race director of Boston. We've known each other for years. So we had lots of professional friends and personal friends there, and at first there were a few minutes of not knowing what was going on and trying to find out and hearing. We went outside in the elevators, people were just trying to get out. We'd seen the people down because we were actually up, of course, high enough. We saw them streaming off of Boston, the finish line area of the marathon, and I just said, we've got to go. And so it's funny how that can happen. The adrenaline kicks in, and so we went down the steps.
So you and I spoke very shortly after this all happened when you got back. And how has this emotionally affected you? I mean, how did you feel after this happened as a race director and as someone who was there? And now you're going back this year, and what does that mean to you?
Right. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot, and as you know, because we run together.
We do. He's my running buddy.
That's right. It was difficult for me at first, and I didn't have a lot of time to think about it initially because 3 days later, we were actually putting on the largest race in the country after Boston, right here in Orlando, the corporate run.
Yep.
And so I didn't have a lot of time to think, but I was mad. I was very angry. That was one thing I realized over anything, that emotion. And I'm then coming back here, and we were, the media we were being covered quite a bit because of what happened at Boston and our event. I was so concerned now putting on such a large event here, really knowing all my, our staff, our friends, our family that were going to actually be at our race.
Because we didn't know enough then to know, are they targeting races?
Exactly.
Who were these people? I mean, this was literally, that race was on a Monday, your race was on that Thursday.
That's correct.
So, I mean, how, it's very scary. So you're running this year. What is it going to be like coming back to that start line and especially that finish line?
You know, I was talking to a good friend of ours, Susan Paul, who's our marathon training director, and I said, I can already feel the energy. I can already feel the energy in Boston. It's going to be so exciting, and I know a lot of people like myself want to go back because I was fortunate enough to finish. But I think, again, part of that being angry, but also saying, this can't stop us. It's the sport we love. It's an innocent, sport. It's so pure, and so many people come there to get away from baggage and some of the hardships in their lives. For somebody to take that away, we can't let that happen.
Well, and I think that's the amazing thing that happened with this entire experience is that runners said, you are not going to keep us down. And, just the resilience that people have and coming together like I have never seen before.
Well, and I have a question because I wanted to know, what did you use to overcome that initial fear? Because after you heard the noise and you saw what was going on, I'm sure there was a rush of fear that came in. So what did you use, or did it just come and go?
I I mean, I got to tell you, honestly, my reaction when I saw the people, you know, running away, and again, first thoughts were, I know people down there, and I know the race director. I want to help.
Okay.
My thought really was, what can I do? And I wanted to get back down there, but our hotel had been, we were in lockdown at that point.
So you also talked about having a lot of anger, which I think a lot of people felt after that happened because it was so personal to so many people. But how did you change that anger into energy, like what we were talking about with fear? What for you? Some people, you know, some people let anger define them after something like this. So how did you change your anger into something positive?
You know, and that's a good question. I think what I've been able to do is try to, you know, let others know that message again, that this can't stop us, it has to make us stronger. And, you know, that message, everybody, I mean, I was just so amazed. I'll give you a real quick point on that. Our corporate run normally slows down as far as, you know, registration the last few days.
Right.
It went through the roof.
Really?
And here I thought people are going to be afraid to come out. They're like, no, we're going to show them that we're not afraid. We're going to, So a lot of people were doing, I think what I was doing was turn that fear into something positive to show folks you can't live your life in fear.
No, you absolutely can, and we've seen that, and I'm as part of the running community, you know, and I'm running Boston next week
you
too.
are.
So I just can't even explain the feeling that you get when you run a marathon and cross that finish line. But this year, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now.
I know.
But when you
getting
reach
emotional.
that finish line this year, I can't imagine how many tears we're gonna see, and just the spectators and the runners, and I'm just thrilled.
I think we're going to see them along the way. I mean, it's just going to be, it's going to be amazing.
What do you tell those that are going to be running, maybe the new marathon runners? What do you tell them to kind of equip them and prepare them for that whole process?
Well, you know, again, because taking on the role of an event director, you know, I saw something that Dave McGilvery said recently is everything's changed, and that's kind of the tough part of it is it's never going to quite be the same. So we have to
security. You mean security at these races? And we interviewed Dave, the race director for Boston Marathon, last week. And you know, security for these races. I mean, people are a little bit more concerned, but looking at the numbers of how many people are running, it's not home people at home.
No, but yeah, just to be diligent and know your surroundings but you know, and have somebody you know nearby.
Sure.
But yeah.
And I think the community will also be watching out for each other a lot more. You know, I can't imagine people that are there won't be having a little more extra care in what they see around them, which is good. I mean, everyone watching out is good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, John. Good luck in Boston. I'll see you there. Thank you.